and leader of Dalit Social Mukti Manch is also with us. I request both of them to come to the dais. Comrade Chellakannu, our President of Tamil Nadu Untouchable Eradication Front. I request Comrades Arvindasamy, State President of Students Federation of India, and Comrade Praveen Kumar, the Central University of Puducherry, and Comrade Ashwin Dev from IIT Madras Chindabar. I request the chair. The chair. Where? Ashwin? I request Comrade S.K. Mahendran to come to the front row. Our former MLA and a leader of Tamil Nadu Untouchable Eradication Front. Dr. Atreya, Venkatesh Atreya is here. I request Comrade Atreya to come. Okay. Now we are going to start the convention. I am K. Swaminathan, Deputy General Secretary of Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front. I am the coordinator of this convention. First, I request Comrade Lenin to deliver welcome address. General Secretary of Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front, South Chennai District, who organized this convention.
நண்பர்கள் அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். தமிழ்நாடு தீண்டாமை ஒழிப்பு முன்னணியின் சார்பில் நடைபெறக்கூடிய மாநில அளவிலான இந்த கருத்தரங்கத்திற்கு வருகை தந்திருக்கிற அனைவரையும் முதலில் வருக வருக என வரவேற்கின்றேன். I welcome one and all for this special convention on issues of social discriminations and violations of reservation norms in central universities and IITs. I formally invite with all regards Dr. Sukhdev Thorat for this special convention, former chairman of UGC. And I also welcome Comrade Subhashni Ali, former MP and the coordinator of Dalit Social Mukti Manch. அதேபோல் தமிழ்நாடு தீண்டாமை முன்னணியின் தமிழ் மாநில செயலாளர் தோழர் கே. சாம்பேல்ராஜ் அவர்களை வருக வருக என வரவேற்கின்றேன். இந்நிகழ்வை ஒருங்கிணைத்து கொண்டிருக்கக்கூடிய தோழர் கே. சுவாமிநாதன் அவர்களை வருக வருக என உங்கள் அனைவரின் சார்பில் வரவேற்கிறேன். இந்த நிகழ்வில் கான்செப்ட் பேப்பரை முன்வைத்து பேசக்கூடிய சிந்தாபார் அதனுடைய நிர்வாகி தோழர் சி. அஸ்வின் தேவ் அவர்களை வருக வருக என வரவேற்கிறேன். இந்நிகழ்வில் நம்மோடு பங்கேற்க இருக்கிற ஃபவுண்டிங் மெம்பர் அம்பேத்கர் பெரியார் ஸ்டடி சர்க்கிளினுடைய ஃபவுண்டிங் மெம்பர் கே. சுவாமிநாதன் அவர்களையும், IITM அதனுடைய SC/ST எம்ப்ளாயீஸ் வெல்ஃபேர் அசோசியேஷன் அதன் ரமணி அவர்களையும், புதுச்சேரி இந்திய மாணவர் சங்கத்தின் செயலாளர் தோழர் சி. பிரவீன்குமார் அவர்களையும் வருக வருக என வரவேற்கின்றேன். இந்திய மாணவர் சங்கத்தினுடைய மாநில தலைவர் தோழர் ஜி அரவிந்த் சாமி அவர்களை வருக வருக என வரவேற்கின்றேன். இந்த நிகழ்வில் நம்மோடு பங்கேற்க இருக்கிற பேராசிரியர் தோழர் வெங்கடேஷ் ஆத்ரேயா அவர்களை வருக வருக என வரவேற்கிறேன். தமிழ்நாடு தீண்டாமை ஒழிப்பு முன்னணியுடைய மாநில செயல் தலைவர் சிறப்பு தலைவர் தோழர் எஸ்கே மகேந்திரன் அவர்களை உங்கள் அனைவரின் சார்பில் வருக வருக என வரவேற்கிறேன். மாநில தலைவர் தோழர் செல்லக்கண்ணு அவர்களை வருக வருக என வரவேற்கின்றேன். இந்திய மாணவர் சங்கத்தினுடைய மாவட்ட நிர்வாகிகள் தோழர் பாரதி, மிருதுலா, நிதிஷ் அவர்களை உங்கள் சார்பில் வரவேற்கிறேன். அதேபோல் தமிழ்நாடு தீண்டாமை ஒழிப்பு முன்னணியுடைய மாவட்ட மற்றும் மாநில நிர்வாகிகள் தோழர் பி சுகந்தி, செல்வன், சரவணன், மோகனா, ஜானகிராமன், தோழர் வேணி, தோழர் மணிகண்டன், தோழர் எம்ஆர் மதியழகன் அவர்களையும் வருக வருக என வரவேற்கின்றேன். நிகழ்வின் இறுதியாக நன்றி உரை கூற இருக்கிற மத்திய சென்னையினுடைய தீண்டாமை ஒழிப்பு முன்னணி மத்திய சென்னையுடைய மாவட்ட தலைவர் தோழர் ஜி ஆனந்தன் அவர்களை வருக வருக என வரவேற்று இந்நிகழ்வை தலைமையேற்று நடத்துமாறு தோழர் கே சாம்பியால்ராஜ் அவர்களை அன்போடு உங்கள் சார்பில் அழைக்கிறேன்.
Before presidential address, I request Praveen Kumar, office bearer of SFI Puducherry and office bearer of SFI at Puducherry Central University to move a condolence resolution.
Good morning to all. It has been disheartening to witness the recent institutional murders of students on higher educational institutions, which is of grave concern for students, community and society. On behalf of this special convention, I extend deep condolence to Anil Kumar from IIT Delhi and recent institutional murders. I request everyone to observe stand up for 1 minute condolence.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். தமிழ்நாடு தீண்டாமை ஒழிப்பு முன்னணி இந்திய மாணவர் சங்கத்தோடு ஜிந்தாபார் அமைப்போடு இணைந்து இந்த உயர்கல்வியில் பாகுபாடுக்கு எதிரான இந்த கருத்தரங்கத்தை நடத்தி கொண்டிருக்கிறது. இந்த கருத்தரங்கத்தை நடத்துவதில் நாங்கள் எல்முனை அளவு கூட பெருமைப்படவில்லை. உள்ளபடியே வருத்தப்படுகிறோம், வேதனைப்படுகிறோம். தேச விடுதலைக்கு இத்தனை ஆண்டுகளுக்கு பிறகும் கூட இப்படி ஒரு பேரிலே கருத்தரங்கம் நடத்தப்படுவது தீண்டாமை ஒழிப்பு முன்னணிக்கு மட்டுமல்ல, இந்த தேசத்துக்கு நேர்ந்த அவமானம் என்று நாங்கள் உள்ளபடியே மிகுந்த வருத்தத்தோடு இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை நாங்கள் ஒருங்கிணைத்திருக்கிறோம். இதற்கெல்லாம் காரணமாக இருப்பது உயர்கல்வி நிறுவனங்களில் படிப்பதற்கு நுழைவதற்கு அடிப்படையான தேவை தகுதியா சலுகையா என்கிற 2 வார்த்தைகளில் நம்முடைய உயர்கல்வி நிறுவனங்கள் அடிப்படை கல்வியிலிருந்து எல்லா இடங்களிலும் பிளவுபட்டு நிற்பதை நாம் பார்த்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். எது தகுதி என்கிற அந்த கேள்வியை மட்டும் உங்களோடு நான் பேச விரும்புகிறேன். பொதுவாக உலகம் ஒரு நாடக மேடை என்று சொல்வார்கள். அது எந்த அளவுக்கு உண்மையோ நமக்கு தெரியாது. ஆனால் இந்தியர்களுடைய வாழ்க்கையை பொறுத்தவரை அது நாடக மேடையாகவே இருக்கிறது. இங்கே பிறப்பால் சிலர் பண்ணையார்களாக முதலாளிகளாக பிறக்கிறார்கள். பிறப்பால் சில பேர் வேலைக்காரர்களாக பிறக்கிறார்கள். ஒரு நாடகத்திலே முதலாளியாக நடிப்பவர் என்ன செய்ய வேண்டும் என்பதை யாரும் அவருக்கு சொல்லித்தர வேண்டாம். அதே போல் வேலைக்காரனாக நடிப்பவனுக்கு நீ எப்படி வேலைக்காரனாக நடிக்க வேண்டும் என்று எவனும் சொல்லித்தர வேண்டாம். வேலைக்காரன் என்று சொன்னால் வந்தவுடன் தரையில் அமருவான், முதலாளியினுடைய கால்கைகளை பிடித்து விடுவான். இதுதான் நம்முடைய வாழ்க்கை, இதுதான் நம்முடைய கேரக்டர் என்று ஒரு புரிந்து கொள்கிறாரோ, அதே போல் தான் இந்த ஒடுக்கப்பட்ட மக்கள், பிற்படுத்தப்பட்ட மக்கள் மனநிலையில் இந்த மண்ணில் அவர்கள் பிறக்கிறார்கள். எனவே தான் சொன்னான், என்னுடைய பிறப்பு என்பது இந்த மண்ணில் ஒரு கொடூரமான விபத்து என்று சொன்னான். அந்த வார்த்தை நம்முடைய காதுகளில் கேட்டுக்கொண்டே இருக்கிறது. ஒரு மனிதன் தன்னுடைய பிறப்பையே விபத்து என்று சொன்ன, சாதாரண விபத்து என்று சொல்லவில்லை ரோஹித் வெமுலா. அவன் சொன்னான் கொடூரமான விபத்து என்று ரோஹித் வெமுலா சொன்னான். இன்றைக்கு நம்முடைய உயர்கல்வி நிறுவனங்களில் நாம் பார்க்கிறோம், இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை ஏற்பாடு செய்த பிறகு தொடர்ச்சியான பல படுகொலைகள். 2019ஆம் ஆண்டில் மட்டும் நம்முடைய சென்னை ஐஐடியில் 9 பேர் தற்கொலை செய்திருக்கிறார்கள். ஒரு மத்திய அரசாங்கத்தினுடைய ஆய்வு நமக்கு தெரிவிக்கிறது, 2018 2023 வரை இந்த வெறும் 5 ஆண்டு காலத்தில் 19,000 பட்டியலின பழங்குடி மாணவர்கள் இந்தியா முழுவதும் இருந்து, கல்வி நிறுவனங்களிலிருந்து, மத்திய அரசாங்கத்தின் ஐஐடிகளிலிருந்து, ஐஐஎம்களிலிருந்து, எய்ம்ஸிலிருந்து, மத்திய அரசாங்கத்தினுடைய, ஒன்றிய அரசாங்கத்தினுடைய அனைத்து கல்வி நிறுவனங்களும் இருந்து 19,000 பேர் விரட்டப்பட்டிருக்கிறார் என்பதை நாம் எதை கொண்டு ஈடு செய்ய போகிறோம் என்று பார்க்கிறோம். கல்வி மனிதர்களை நாகரிகப்படுத்தும், கல்வி மனிதர்களை ஆற்றல் படுத்தும், மிக குறிப்பாக சாதியை ஒழிக்கும் என்று நாம் எல்லோரும் நம்புகிறோம். ஆனால் 1956ஆம் ஆண்டு வாய்ஸ் ஆஃப் அமெரிக்கா என்கிற இதழுக்கு புரட்சியாளர் அம்பேத்கர் அவர்கள் கொடுத்த ஒரு பேட்டியில் அவர் குறிப்பிடுகிறார், கல்வி சாதியை ஒழிக்குமா என்று கேட்கப்பட்ட கேள்வி, அம்பேத்கர் அவர்கள் ஆம் என்றும் இல்லை என்றும் பதில் சொல்கிறார். அதை சொல்லிவிட்டு அவர் பேசுகிறார், இந்த கேள்விக்கு நான் ஆம் என்றும் பதில் சொல்ல வேண்டும், இல்லை என்றும் பதில் சொல்ல வேண்டும். இல்லை என்று ஏன் சொல்கிறேன் என்று சொன்னால், இந்த நாட்டில் வாழ்கிற யார் சாதியத்தை கடைபிடிக்கிறார்களோ உயர் சமூகத்தினர், அவர்களில் 100 விழுக்காட்டினர் படித்தவர்கள். 56 அவர் குறிப்பிடுகிறார், யாரெல்லாம் சாதியை கடைபிடிக்கிறார்களோ அவர்களில் 100% 100 விழுக்காட்டினர் படித்தவர்கள். ஆனால் அவர்கள் இந்த படிப்பை சாதியின் மூலம் பெற்றிருக்கிறார்கள் என்ற காரணத்தினால் இந்த சாதியை தக்க வைத்துக் கொள்ள பயன்படுத்திக் கொள்கிறார்கள். அம்பேத்கருடைய ஆய்வு, உயர் பதவி கிடைக்கிறது, மிகப்பெரிய அந்தஸ்து கிடைக்கிறது, எனவே அவர்கள் இந்த சாதியை பாதுகாக்க வேண்டும் என்று விரும்புகிறார்கள் என்று அம்பேத்கர் பேசுகிறார். அதே நேரத்தில் ஒரு ஒடுக்கப்பட்டவனுக்கு கல்வியை கொடுத்தால் அந்த கல்வி அவனுக்கு விழிப்புணர்வை கொடுக்கிறது, போராட வேண்டும் என்கிற அக்கறையை கொடுக்கிறது. இவனுக்கு சாதி, உண்மையில் கல்வி இவனுடைய சாதியை ஒழிக்கிறது. ஆனால் உயர் சமூகத்தினருக்கு சாதி, கல்வி என்பது சாதியை பலப்படுத்துகிறது என்று அம்பேத்கர் பேசுகிறார். 56 நாம் பார்த்த அம்பேத்கர் சொன்னதைத்தான் இன்றைக்கு இந்தியா முழுவதும் நம்முடைய நிறுவனங்கள் நாம் பார்த்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். மிக கொடூரமான கொலைகள். தமிழகத்தைச் சேர்ந்த செந்தில்குமார், நம்முடைய சேலம் மாநகரத்தைச் சேர்ந்த, சேலம் மாவட்டத்தில் இருக்கக்கூடிய ஜலகண்டபுரம் என்கிற ஒரு பேரூராட்சி, அந்த செந்தில்குமாருடைய வீட்டுக்கு நான் சென்றிருக்கிறேன். பன்னியாண்டிகள் சமூகத்தை சார்ந்தவர். இந்த அரங்கத்தில் இருக்கிற எத்தனை பேருக்கு பன்னியாண்டிகள் என்று ஒரு சாதி இருப்பது தெரியும் எனக்கு தெரியவில்லை. பன்னியாண்டி என்கிற ஆங்கிலத்தில் நம்முடைய அர்ஜுன் டாங் எடுத்த நம்முடைய பாண்ட்ரி என்கிற ஒரு படம் உங்களில் பல பேர் நீங்கள் பார்த்துருப்பீங்க. பார்க்கவில்லை என்று சொன்னால் கட்டாயம் பார்க்க வேண்டும் என்று நான் கேட்டுக்கொள்ள விரும்புகிறேன். அந்த குறிப்பிட்ட சாதியை சார்ந்தவன் அந்த செந்தில்குமார். ஜலகண்டபுரத்தில் அவருடைய வீட்டுக்கு நாங்கள் செல்கிற போது 2 அறைகளை கொண்ட அறை என்று சொன்னால் விசாலமான அறை இல்லை, 8க்கு 8 சதுரம் உள்ள 2 அறைகளை கொண்டதுதான் செந்தில்குமாரின் வீடு. நண்பர்களே, அந்த குடும்பத்தார் அதில் ஒரு வீட்டை, ஒரு அறையை முழுவதுமாக செந்தில்குமாருக்கு அவர்கள் கொடுத்திருக்கிறார்கள். அந்த அறையை அவருடைய பெற்றோர் திறந்து காண்பித்தார்கள். அவன் இறந்து 5 ஆண்டுகள் கழித்து செந்தில்குமாருடைய அறைக்குள்ளே சென்று பார்த்தால் அறை முழுவதும் புத்தகங்கள் இறைந்து கிடக்கிறது. ஒரு பன்றி மேய்க்கிற ஒரு சாதியில் பிறந்த ஒரு சமூகத்தை சார்ந்தவன். அந்த அரங்கம் முழுவதும், அந்த அறை முழுவதும் ஏராளமான புத்தகங்கள் இறைந்து கிடக்கிறது. இந்த பெற்றோர்கள் சொன்னார்கள், இந்த புத்தகத்தோடு தான் அவன் காலமெல்லாம் வாழ்ந்தான் என்று. அந்த செந்தில்குமார் பன்றியாடி சமூகத்திலே பிறந்தவன். வேதியியல் பிரிவில் கெமிஸ்ட்ரியிலே பிஹெச்டி செய்வதற்காக ஹைதராபாத் மத்திய பல்கலைக்கழகத்துக்கு சென்றவன். அவன் அங்கே தன்னுடைய அறைக்குள்ளே அவனுடைய சடலம் கிடந்தது. நிர்வாணமாக தூக்கிட்ட நிலையில் நிர்வாணமாக கிடந்தது. என்னுடைய பெற்றோர்களுடைய ஒரு வேண்டுகோள், என்னுடைய பையனின் உடைமைகள் கூட எங்களுக்கு கிடைக்கவில்லை, வாங்கி தர முடியுமா என்று கேட்கிறார்கள். நாங்கள் எவ்வளவோ முயற்சிகளை மேற்கொண்டோம், அதை செய்ய முடியவில்லை. நண்பர்களே, இப்படித்தான் செந்தில் பன்னியாண்டிகள் சமூகம். என்ன கேள்வி? தலித்தாக பிறந்தவன், எஸ்சியாக பிறந்தவன், எஸ்டியாக பிறந்தவன், ஓபிசியாக பிறந்தவன், மருத்துவர் ஆவதற்கான மூளை உன்னிடம் இல்லை என்று இந்த சமூகம் சொல்கிறது. அதுதான் தொடர்ச்சியான கொலைகளை பார்த்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். எனவே நண்பர்களை, இதை நாம் மாற்றியாக வேண்டும். 75 ஆண்டுகால விடுதலைக்கு பிறகும் கூட நம்முடைய ஐஐடிகள் எந்த ரூல்ஸும் கிடையாது, எந்த ஒரு இதுவும் கிடையாது. ஆனால் கேட்டால் சொல்லுவாங்க, இது தகுதி அடிப்படையில், சட்டத்தின் அடிப்படையில் செயல்படுவதாக. எந்த சட்டமும் கிடையாது, எந்த நாம்ஸும் கிடையாது. அவங்க வைக்கதான் சட்டம் என்கிற முறையில் தான் நம்முடைய ஐஐடிகள், ஐஏஎம்கள் செயல்பட்டு கொண்டிருக்காங்க. செந்தில்குமாரை போல எத்தனையோ சாட்சிகளை சொல்ல முடியும். பால் முகுந்த் பார் மத்திய பிரதேச மாநிலத்தினுடைய ஒரு பழங்குடி சமூகத்திலிருந்து பிறந்த பால் முகுந்த் பாரதி. அவனுடைய டெல்லி எய்ம்ஸில் அவருக்கு இடம் கிடைக்கிறது, ஐஐடியில் இடம் கிடைக்கிறது. அவன் ஐஐடியை புறக்கணித்து விட்டு எய்ம்ஸில் சேர்கிறான். அவனுடைய மரணம் நமக்கு முன்னால் ஒரு சாட்சியாக இருக்கிறது. பால் முகுந்த் பாரதி அவருடைய மரணத்துக்கு பிறகுதான் நம்முடைய சுகதேவ் தோரட் அவர்களுடைய தலைமையிலான குழு அமைக்கப்பட்டு இந்தியா முழுவதும் ஆய்வுகளை மேற்கொண்டு இன்றைக்கு மிகச்சிறந்த ஆலோசனைகளை வழங்கியிருக்கிறது. நான் பால் முகுந்த் பாரதியோடு நிறைவு பெற விரும்புகிறேன். அந்த பால் முகுந்த் பாரதி டெல்லி எய்ம்ஸில் அவனுக்கு மருத்துவ படிப்புக்கான இடம் கிடைக்கிறது. அவன் சேர்கிறான். ஒரு வாரம் கூட தாக்கு பிடிக்க முடியலை. தன்னுடைய பெற்றோருக்கு, என்னால் இங்கு இருக்க முடியவில்லை, என்னை அழைத்து செல்லுங்கள் என்று அவன் கடிதம் எழுதுகிறான். அவனுடைய தகப்பனார் வருகிறார், கண்ணீர் விட்டு கதறுகிறார். இந்திய எல்லையில் நம்முடைய சமூகத்தில் முதலில் மருத்துவம் படிப்பது நீதான், அதுவும் எய்ம்ஸில் படிக்கிற, எப்படியாவது இந்த கஷ்டங்களை நீ தாங்கிக் கொள்ள வேண்டும் என்று அவருடைய தந்தை சொல்கிறார். இவன் தந்தையாரனுடைய ஆலோசனைக்காக சரி என்று ஏற்றுக்கொள்கிறான். மீண்டும் ஒரு வாரம் கூட ஆகவில்லை, மீண்டும் தந்தைக்கு கடிதம் எழுதுகிறான். தந்தை மீண்டும் வருகிறார். தந்தையும் இவனும் ஒரு அறையில் அமர்ந்து பால் முகுந்த் பாரதியினுடைய அறையில் அமர்ந்து பேசிக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள். வெளியே ஒரு தேநீர் அருந்தலாம் என்று 2 பேரும் நினைத்து வெளியே செல்வதற்காக நினைக்கிற போது, தந்தை இருக்கிற போதே, பால் முகுந்த் பாரதியும் அவருடைய தந்தையும் இருக்கிற போதே அவருடைய அறை வெளியே பூட்டப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. அவமானப்படுகிறான். அவனை ஆற்றல் படுத்துவதற்காக தந்தை வந்தார். ஆனால் தந்தையும் இருக்கிற போது அவருடைய அறை பூட்டப்படுகிறது. மீண்டும் சமாதானப்படுத்திவிட்டு அவனுடைய தந்தை செல்கிறார். இந்த அவமானங்களை விட மரணம் மேலானது என்று சொல்லிவிட்டு பால் முகுந்த் பாரதி இறந்து போனான் என்று பார்க்கிறோம். நண்பர்களே, இப்படிப்பட்ட மரணங்கள் நேரக்கூடாது என்று இந்த மாநாடு, இந்த கருத்தரங்கும் இந்தியா முழுவதும் இருக்கிறார். உயர்கல்வி நிறுவனங்களில் படித்து கொண்டிருக்கிற ஒடுக்கப்பட்ட பிற்படுத்தப்பட்ட மாணவர்களை, குறிப்பாக சிறுபான்மை, இங்கே இறந்த நம்முடைய பாத்திமா லத்தீப் நம்முடைய கண்களை விட்டு இன்னும் மறையவில்லை. நம்முடைய வசந்தா கந்தசாமி சொல்கிறார், இந்த ஐஐடியில் 28 ஆண்டு காலம் நீதிக்காக போராடிய வசந்தா கந்தசாமி, நான் 28 வருடங்கள் இங்கே பணி செய்திருக்கிறேன், ஒரு 10 இஸ்லாமிய மாணவர்களை கூட நான் பார்த்ததில்லை என்று சொல்கிறார். ஒரு 10 பேர் கூட இல்லை, கண் முன்னால் நாம் இங்கே பார்த்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். எனவே இவைகளெல்லாம் மாறியாக வேண்டும், மாற்றியாக வேண்டும். நாம் அவநம்பிக்கையிலிருந்து, ஆற்றாமையிலிருந்து பேசவில்லை. இவைகளெல்லாம் மாற்ற முடியும், மாற்ற வேண்டும் என்கிற நம்பிக்கையோடு ஒரு மாபெரும் போராட்ட களத்திற்கு தயாரிப்பதற்காக நாம் இங்கே கூடியிருக்கிறோம். எனவே இந்த கருத்தரங்கத்தின் வாயிலாக இந்தியா முழுவதும் நாங்கள் கேட்டுக்கொள்வது, அந்த கல்வி சூழல் உங்களுக்கு எதிராக இருக்கிறது, அந்த இன்ஸ்டிடியூஷன் உங்களுக்கு எதிராக இருக்கிறது, அங்கே சாதி இருக்கிறது, மதம் இருக்கிறது, மிக கேவலமான முறையில் நடத்தக்கூடிய பண்புகள் இருப்பதை நாம் பார்த்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். எல்லாவற்றையும் மீறி நீங்கள் வெற்றி பெற்று ஆக வேண்டும், நீங்கள் வென்றாக வேண்டும், உங்களுக்காக நாடு காத்திருக்கிறது என்று இந்த கருத்தரங்கம் இந்தியா முழுவதும் படித்து கொண்டிருக்கிற ஒடுக்கப்பட்ட பழங்குடி மாணவர்களை அன்போடு ஆதரவோடு கேட்டுக்கொள்கின்ற செய்தியோடு நாம் மிகுந்த நம்பிக்கையோடு இந்த பயணத்தை துவங்கியிருக்கிறோம். நிச்சயமாக எதிர்காலத்தில் நம்மால் சாதிய பாகுபாடற்ற ஒரு மரணம் கூட நேராத, உண்மையில் ஜனநாயக அடிப்படையில் இயங்கக்கூடிய நிறுவனங்களை உருவாக்க முடியும் என்கிற நம்பிக்கையோடு தீண்டாமை ஒழிப்பு முன்னணி இந்திய மாணவர் சங்கத்தோடு, சிந்தாபாரோடு இணைந்து இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை ஒருங்கிணைத்திருக்கிறது. எங்களுடைய எளிய அழைப்பை ஏற்று இங்கே வருகை தந்திருக்கிற நம்முடைய பெருமைக்குரிய ஆய்வாளர்களுக்கு, ஆய்வு மாணவர்களுக்கு தீண்டாமை ஒழிப்பு முன்னணியின் சார்பில் அன்பான வணக்கத்தை, வரவேற்பை உரித்தாக்கி விடைபெறுகிறேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Now, Comrade Veni, she will give the gist of speech of Comrade Samuel Raj in English.
As TNUF, we feel very sorry to organize a convention in such a name, even after 75 years of Indian independence, that we are in a position to organize against a convention against discrimination in central universities. So we feel very sorry to organize. I mean, this situation should eradicate completely. So that is my first message as a General Secretary of the Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front. And he just... I mean, from Rohit Vemula to Senthil Kumar and to, we can list n number of students who committed suicide due to caste oppression and discrimination in the central universities. In 2018 to 2023, this is the data revealed by the central government. Around 19,000 scheduled caste and scheduled type students from all these IITs and IIMs have dropped out, and the main reason is discrimination and the atrocity, violence they face inside the educational institutions. We all believe that education will remove the caste from the entire society, but it's not being done. In 1956 itself, when some reporter was asking Ambedkar, do you believe education will eradicate caste? He said yes and no. He said no, because who are all following the casteism in this country are all 100% they are educated, but they believe that they got their education because of their caste identity, and they want to uphold the caste identity to go further as in higher positions. But if the oppressed is given education, it is like more like an awareness and to come out of the caste society. So my answer is yes and no for this question. So it is in 1956 Dr. Ambedkar has said this, but even now that is the same position prevailing now. And he just narrated scenario of Senthil Kumar, who committed suicide in, I mean, you cannot say it's an alleged suicide in Hyderabad University. After 5 years of his death, comrades along with, he visited some of the comrades to his house. His house is 2 rooms. It's a very small rooms house, and he is coming from the community called community which is rearing pigs. I mean, some of you might have watched a movie called Fandri. It is dealing about that community. So Panniyandigal, in Tamil we'll say that Panniyandigal, their main profession is they'll rear pigs. So from that community, he went to the Hyderabad University. So when the team visited his house, it's a very small 2 rooms house, of which his entire family dedicated 1 room for him. And after 5 years, they opened the room and they showed the room. It was full of books. So his family members said that he always will be in this room with his books. Even after 5 years of his demise, we couldn't get his belongings from that university. Kindly get us. So as Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front, we struggled a lot to get those belongings, but still now it is not possible for us. So when they visited the university after hearing the news, he was in his room in the university, hanging, in a nudely he was hanging. So society is again and again telling the oppressed students that you don't have a brain to study medicine, to become an IIT, to become an PhD scholar. So there is no rules, no norms, nothing is being followed in this IIT and IIMs. They frame the rules. They are the masters of their institutions. It is like that. And I just want to finish with quoting one more students. He is from the AIMS, Bal Mukund Bharati. He committed suicide. After his demise only, Comrade Thorat gave a lot of useful, very powerful recommendations to avoid such deaths. But even yesterday, we witnessed a death in Delhi University. So he got admission in IIM and AIMS. He selected AIMS. He went there. Immediately joining, after a week itself, he called his father that, "Father, I'm not able to tolerate, I'll come back." So his father visited him and somehow convinced that in our entire society, you are the only person who have reached up to this level. Kindly tolerate all the problems you are facing for our own society. Please complete and become a doctor. Then, okay, he got convinced. Immediately after some days, he again wrote a letter to his father, and his father again came and convinced him, and they just decided to go out and have a tea. Then his father realized that their room, where they both were sitting and talking, it was locked outside. So his son was saying that, Mukund was saying that, "This is the thing I'm facing every other day. This is one of the sample. So this is what happening to me. So instead of facing all these discriminations and humiliations and to become a doctor, rather I can die," and he committed suicide. So with this, I'm ending this, and with not only with this desperate words, but with all much confidence that you are all will join in our cause, that such type of discrimination and deaths will not occur in any of the institutions, and we all come together and fight for that. With that determination, I'm leaving this strong message from this convention. Thank you.
Friends, I wish to introduce Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front. I know there is no much time for me. Anyhow, I want to introduce this house, the functions of Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front. Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front is an affiliate of Dalit Social Mukti Manch. It is an umbrella organization of Dalit organizations, trade unions, and various mass organizations in Tamil Nadu. Though these constituents take up issues individually, they realized that coordinated efforts are necessary and formed Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front in 2008. Since its inception, it takes up issues of untouchabilities and against atrocities. Many untouchability walls have been demolished, including one at Uttapuram. Temple entry movements were undertaken. Surveys are conducted to expose various forms of untouchability, forcing the administration to intervene. There are more than 100 forms of untouchability in Tamil Nadu, which were documented and exposed by Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front. Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front has worked relentlessly on scheduled caste subplan and tribal subplan, and recently Tamil Nadu government announced to bring special law on this. Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front conducted many seminars, conventions on this, highlighting inadequate allocation, diversion of funds, lapsability, misuse of funds through indivisible schemes, etc. Recently, we prepared a draft law and submitted to the political parties of Tamil Nadu and the government of Tamil Nadu. We are continuously taking up the demand for special law curbing honor killing of intercaste couple. 400 kilometer Padayatra participated by more than hundreds of cadres from Salem to Chennai was one of the important program undertaken. Other areas of focus, the demanding sanitary engineering courses and the mechanization of manual scavenging. We have conducted many programs, retrieval of Panjami lands. Many direct actions have been conducted in certain areas successfully and ensured land rights of Dalits and tribals. Yet we have to go long way on this, helping victims in getting justice, taking issues of reservation. Apart from this, we have Dr. Ambedkar Coaching Center for Employment and Education at 8 centers, and more than 1,500 candidates from our centers got jobs in various government departments and institutions. With this introduction, we will move to very important agenda of this convention. Dr. Sugadev Thorat is here, former chairman of University Grand Commission. When we planned for this convention, we approached him for his presence at this convention. He immediately agreed. So on behalf of Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front, first of all, I thank Dr. Sugadev Thorat, and I request Dr. Sugadev Thorat to deliver inaugural address for this special convention.
Good morning to all of you. Am I sufficiently audible? Okay. Subhashini Ali, the General Secretary of this Special Front, Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Fund, President South Chennai S. Lenin, K. Swaminathan, Ashwindar, other distinguished person, and the representative of all the organizations which are a part of this front, and the students from various education institutions here in Tamil Nadu and person from media. I have gone through the both document, the work done by the Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Fund. I think this is a very important initiative that the front has brought together all organizations to work on the issue of untouchability, discrimination, and other issue related to the problem of Dalit. And I have seen that number of activity has been carried on. I appreciate and congratulate the organizer. As I understand from this front, the major issue is, of course, among many other issues, is the discrimination issue. And this particular convention is a focus on the discrimination in the educational institution, with a focus on central education institution, including IITs. But I think this is in a way is a convention which discusses the issue of caste discrimination and discrimination associated with other identities. The concept note that has been circulated and it was given to me, it identified some of the problems in the education sector. Although it is mentioned that the issue of discrimination will be discussed in the central education institutions, IITs and central university, I think the problem is also present and persist in other education institutions like state university, colleges, and standalone institutions. So we have to really talk about the discrimination in a higher education sector as a whole. The note, the concept note brings out 5 issues. And these issues are very important. One is, of course, the underrepresentation of scheduled castes. It's okay now? No? My voice is low. Yeah. It's not working. Yeah, it's okay. Have we fixed? No. Yeah, okay. Hello.
ஹலோ இல்லை இல்லை வேற ஏதோ மேஜர் ஆகுது ஹலோ 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 குறைங்க குறைங்க ஹலோ வந்துட்டான்னு நினைக்கிறேன் இல்லையோ ஹலோ ஹலோ ஃபெராஸ் என்ன மதிய நீங்கள் இந்த வேலை தானே பார்க்குறீங்க என்னாச்சே இது ரொம்ப ஹைடெக்காக இருக்கோ ஹலோ நமக்கு நம்ம மாதிரி மைக் செட் தான் செட் ஆகுது ஹலோ 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 ஓகேயா ஹலோ ஹலோ அதுவும் உனக்கு அது ஆனால் கூட பரவாயில்ல தான் ஓகே இது ஓகே ஹலோ ஹலோ இது கேட்குதா இதில் வச்சுக்கலாமா ஹலோ கேட்குதா ஓகே இங்கே வச்சிடலாமா இங்கே வச்சுட்டா கேட்குமா இல்லை கை டிஸ்டர்பாக இருக்குமா உங்களுக்கு
Hello. Yeah, this one. Okay, so is it okay now? No, they say no. It's okay. I understand. Hello. Can you raise the voice? Oh, that is the only one. Louder, huh? Okay, okay. Maybe it's because of my low voice also. But it's okay now? Clear? Yeah, okay. Well, I began by saying that the Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Fund, which focus on the issue of discrimination in Tamil Nadu and elsewhere, has taken this issue of discrimination in educational institution as a center point for discussion. And they have identified, the front has identified some of the problem in central university and central education institution like IITs and other. Now the problem that they have identified is, one is of course the underrepresentation in admission. Less than their share in the population in all IITs and central education institutions. They have given the statistic. There is other issue that they have highlighted with the statistical evidence is the underrepresentation of the teacher and the faculty in IITs and central universities. They also recognize that there is a high dropout of the student in this central education institution. And one of the reason, of course, is economic problem, but discrimination has also been mentioned as one of the reason for the dropout of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe students. And the third issue that they identified is the caste-based discrimination and humiliation that the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes students face in these institutions. which results in dropout, and also finally when there are very critical cases, it result into suicide. And they have given the number of cases. I think during the last 3 to 4 years, I think 69 cases in central education institution, of which 58 are from IITs in the country. The fourth problem that they have identified is not very sincere functioning of the SC/ST cell, and not the proper implementation of the regulation of the University Grant Commission 2012. Uh, is it okay now, or still there is a problem? It's okay? Okay, so I think these are 5 problems which have been identified in the concept note by the Tamil Nadu Untouchability Front, and the intention is to discuss this problem and also suggest the way out. So just to summarize, underrepresentation in admission in the faculty, also the underrepresentation on various bodies of this institution on various committees, the high dropouts and caste discrimination being one of the reasons for a high dropout and suicide, and of course not proper functioning of SC/ST cell. Now these are the issues that they have identified. Well, in this context, I think because given the limitation of the time, what I will do is to share 3 issues before you. One is, of course, why the nature of discrimination that still persists in higher education institution despite law and regulation. That's the one issue that we must understand. We have a provision in the Constitution of equality before law, equal opportunity, non-discrimination, and yet discrimination persists. And the issue of discrimination in higher education institution has emerged in the last between 20 years in a much more prominent way. So I will discuss with you, I will give some evidence on the nature and magnitude of discrimination, caste-based and ethnicity-based, and now I think even the religion-based discrimination in this institution. The second question that I will address, which is very important, is that why discrimination persists despite law, particularly caste discrimination and the tribal discrimination. What are the reasons which motivate the high caste student and the faculty to continue to discriminate despite the law? And third, at the end, I will suggest certain policies. You have mentioned certain limitation of the policies taken by the institute, but I will discuss with you the different policies. Let us come to the nature of discrimination. As has been mentioned by one of the ladies, that after the suicide of the student in the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, the Ministry of Welfare, Family Welfare and Health approached me. I was the chairman of UGC at that point of time. Approached me to chair the committee to study the nature of discrimination and why suicide are happening in All India Institute of Medical Science. Well, I accepted and undertook a study which was very difficult study. The students were not coming forward to share their experiences. The others were, of course, very silent. They did not welcome this committee at all, although it was set up by the ministry. But I somehow managed to get information. I circulated 25 questions. Out of the 50 students, 25 students were interviewed. And basically, it was a difficult exercise because nobody has studied how to capture the discrimination in higher education institution. Although, as a chairman of the Indian Institute of Dalit Studies, I had undertaken one study. Geeta Nameshwan from JNU had done a study supported by IIDS of discrimination in the school, but not in the higher education institution. So, but I developed on the basis of my understanding and other experience that how does the student face discrimination. So I first studied the discrimination between students, between student and the teacher, between student and the administration, and the discrimination on the campus being faced by the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe student particularly. Now, I don't want to go into greater detail. Then the report came, and I'll tell you the story of the report very briefly. Then I joined as a chairman of the ICSSR in 2011 and I was there in 2016. I sponsored one particular study of much more intensively to study the discrimination, and this it has come in the form of a book by Sukumar, who is a professor of political science in Delhi University. It's published by Oxford. So it sort of reiterate and re-establish the practice of discrimination in the central and the state universities. But before that, the NUPA, National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, a scholar called Nidhi Sadhana Sabharwal, studied the discrimination in the state university and the colleges. So these are the three prominent studies which have empirically examined the discrimination. And there are other articles also, I will not go to them. But most important source which bring out the insight of discrimination is the surveys done by the student of IIT Mumbai. For quite some time, this survey were not allowed to be published, but somehow I was sent the entire list of the surveys and the finding, and that survey really gives you the entire inside story of the discrimination being faced by a student in IITs. Now, based on this, I will very briefly, in 10 to 15 minutes, I will talk about the nature of discrimination. I don't want to go into greater detail because that will take a time, but I think it come out quite clearly. You can read this literature, but it come out quite clearly that discrimination persists in IITs, in central university, in state university, and the colleges in a significant manner. And that discrimination assumed the form of discrimination being faced by the student from the high caste student, in the classroom, on the in the social event, in the hostel, in the mess, in various nature, in residential segregation also. That come out quite clearly in AIMS study. These studies also bring out that there is a discrimination being faced by them from the teachers, both in teaching, sharing information, particularly the science students feeling discrimination in laboratories, in evaluation and assigning the marks. So detail I cannot go, but discrimination is quite evident from all the study being faced by the scheduled caste, scheduled type student from the teacher, and also discrimination from the administration. I'll give some of the evidence from the IIT Mumbai survey later on. And then the discrimination on the campus, in the game, in cultural function. You know, All Indian Institute of Medical Science have a very big festival called Pulse annually, and how the scheduled caste student face exclusion from this participation in this event, and also in the hostels, also in the mess. Now, what is the nature of this discrimination? Nature of this discrimination is, as I say, it assumes different forms of discrimination. Between student and student, of course, the interpersonal relations are not that much with the scheduled caste student. In the All India Institute of Medical Sciences studies, and later on the two study confirm that the peer group are formed on the basis of caste. In All India Institute of Medical institutions, the mess is one is private, other is public. And in all the private mess, you find that the private mess are based on the caste consideration. There is no residential segregation on purpose. The rooms are given randomly whenever they are available. But because of discrimination over a period of time, the scheduled caste students change their room and they get segregated into one wing because they feel comfortable to be together. The example given by this earlier speaker, by her, is a very telling example. So you land up with the segregation of the SC/ST student. So segregation in mess, segregation in residential area, segregation in peer group, in social functions is the reality which is brought out by all the three studies from state university, central university, IITs, and the colleges as such. Now, this is the summary. I don't want to go into greater detail because we have to spend time on policies, because I am really concerned about the policies. And I will suggest the policy which you can take up. But I will refer only to the IIT Mumbai survey that is very, very important, because they have done surveys and asked the student their experiences in IIT Mumbai in a very, very different way. They have also not only captured the discrimination faced by the scheduled caste student, but they have also captured the impact on the health, psychological health of the scheduled caste student. Now, I don't want to go into greater detail again, but you must understand the forms that are used by the student and the teacher in the IIT Mumbai. Let me give you just point. One is that right from the beginning, there is an attempt from the high caste student in the IIT Mumbai to identify who are the scheduled caste students. So there is an attempt on the part of the high caste student to identify the social identity, and there are several markers which are being used. They are asked GEE score, and if their score is less, that is the marks through which they got admission. And if their score are less, they will certainly then ask, are you from a reserve category? So there are other mechanisms which are used to know your social background, and then decide, the high caste decide whether to associate or not to associate with the student. This is the one thing that has come out, that there is a constant attempt on the part of the student. If you are a weak student academically, then it is attributed that you must have come from reservation. But eventually there is an attempt on the part of the high caste student to identify the social background, and without that identification, they won't very closely associate it with those students or make them part of the peer group. That has come out quite well. The second thing is, once you identify the identity of the SC/ST student, then the discrimination begins. And the discrimination, of course, I have shared with you, the social isolation in the hostel, in relationship, possibly in the mess. But the most important point that has come is that there are various ways of asking, the social background. For example, asking surname and other thing. But the second form of discrimination is the humiliation and looking down upon on the basis of caste. Now that is very important. Several kind of methods are used to humiliate them, that you came through reservation, that you are a category student, that you are getting a scholarship on a liberal basis, and several other means and words are used to them to humiliate, to intimidate, and to make them psychologically uncomfortable. You should read those reports. They are very, very important report. Now, I think possibly they are in the public domain. The impact of this discrimination, which finally result into the suicide of some of the students who cannot take it and they are pushed to the wall, is already there. But they have done a survey in June 2022, where they have tried to capture the impact on the mental health, and they had a number of students. 53% responder were from BTech students, some MTech students, some PhD students. And what they discovered is very important, that almost 25% of the students who were surveyed, 1/4 of HCSC students in that institute indicated that they suffer from mental health problem, primarily because of discrimination and isolation and humiliation. There are various spheres that they have mentioned. I would not like to again spend time on that, but it's very, very clear that 7.5% have an acute mental problem, and there are no counseling facilities as far as this is concerned. This is the way the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe students face discrimination in this institution. I am really avoiding all evidences because we have to discuss other issue more importantly. But one thing I will clearly mention is that the discrimination of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe in higher education institution in various forms is an empirical reality. There is no reason why now high caste should denied this practice of discrimination. I just want to give one example and you will get it. My report of All India Institutes was rejected by the executive committee. They said, no, this is not true. And they haven't done much. I think they have not taken many initiative. When I was not a chairman of UGC. After 1 year, the another director of AIMS, Dr. Deka, called me, Professor Thorat, would you like to be chairman of the committee? I say, you have not accepted my first report. Why do you want me to the chairman of the another committee? And he said, there is another suicide. So I accepted and gave them the recommendation. But I don't think they have really seriously taken the issue of discrimination seriously. So there is no initiative on the part of the institution. I'll come to that later, because before the suicide in Mumbai IIT, I went there and gave a lecture. The teacher and the students are fairly active there. They form a SST cell. I went to Delhi University before the suicide by the Delhi University student. These are the, you get an idea that in Delhi IIT there was a fair amount of ignorance on the part of director as well as on the part of faculty, and there was a resistance to a certain extent. I'll come to that later. Now this is the first issue. Now the second issue is why this discrimination persists. That is very important. The reason we have to look into it, that we have a provision in the Constitution of non-discrimination associated with caste, class, religion, gender, ethnicity. And for flowing out of that, the government of India has taken a convert that provision into law. We have Anti-Untouchability Offence Act of 1955, which was renamed as a Protection of Civil Rights Act. And when the scheduled castes try to get their right, they face violence, physical violence. Therefore, in 1989, another act was passed, that was Prevention of Atrocity Act. And so we have a 1989 Atrocity Act, which has been revised and amended several times. The latest is 2015. So we have these two acts which ban discrimination. We have Act Against Gender. And yet you find that discrimination persists. So what is the problem? What are the roots? Why is it that the discrimination still persists? Now, my understanding of the problem is as follows. The reason is that we have to go back to the source. Now, if you look at the caste system, what you find is that there are certain codes and the legal provision in the caste system, particularly codified by Manu. Manu codified the caste system somewhere around AD 100. And there you clearly find that that the caste system is based on, of course, has an origin which is divine origin. I do not want to go there, you know that. But the castes are Hindu populations are divided into 5 groups, and that they are the rights of each of the castes are also decided, and they are decided in an unequal manner. That's the key thing, that the caste system is based on the principle of graded inequality. As you go down in a caste hierarchy, the rights, economic and education and cultural right go down, and the untouchable who are located at the bottom of the caste hierarchy have no right whatsoever. So untouchable did not have right to property, untouchable did not have right to entrepreneurship except the inferior occupation, they did not have right to education. And of course, the difference between Shudra and the untouchable is that the untouchable are considered to be polluting and impure caste. And therefore, they being a polluting and impure caste, they are separated and they stay separately. There is residential segregation, there is social segregation. Even today, you have to find out a single village in India where there is a mixed caste. No. Every village of the scheduled caste, residents of scheduled caste is separate. So physical segregation and social segregation primarily because of they are being considered because polluting and impure. That is not the problem of Shudra, the OBCs. OBC also face discrimination, but not the untouchability. Now, but the key point that you have to remember is this. Forget about all these. There is a lot about discrimination, but the scheduled castes are denied economic right and education right. I am not talking of social right at the moment. Now, coming to the education, that they were certainly debarred from the education in ancient period, in medieval period, and even in British period. If you take the first legal act was passed by the British in 1772. East India Company, not by the Britisher. Britisher took over India in 1857 after that revolt. But the first legal act was passed for the governance of the country in West Bengal, particularly in 1772. And if you read that act, it clearly mentioned that Hindus will be governed by their laws, including caste, and the Muslim will be governed by Quran. And in that, therefore, you find that since the caste is the governing principle by the East India Company, education right was not given to the scheduled caste or to others. It is only in 1813 that the education was made open to the Indians. Indianization of education started in 1830. But very explicitly it was written in the law, ordered by the Viceroy, that the poor and the depressed, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, will not have access to education. It is only 1854, the another rules was brought out that yes, now education is open to the poor, irrespective of caste, and to the depressed classes. Earlier, education was confined to landlord class, those who pay income tax, those who are in business, and the Brahmin. So, literally speaking, the education was open to scheduled caste in 1855. There is a case of a boy from Dharwad. He went to admission and he was rejected the admission because the school was public but managed by the high caste, and they refused. They said we can't allow untouchable, although laws allows. So he wrote a letter to the education department of Bombay Presidency, and he got a very interesting reply. If I can locate it, I would like to read that. Very interesting, that how the education was debarred for him. Okay, it will take time. What he was told is that, look, you have a right to education, because that's a British individual right, is the British principle. But by admitting an untouchable student in Dharwad school, if it is closed down, everybody will support, so he will not get admission. They gave a decision that let us inquire from the Bengal what are they doing, and what if they are doing something, we will follow in Bombay Presidency. Now that boy, I went to their school now. Their school still persists in Dharwad. I went to their school. The short story is that till 1854, untouchable did not have a right to education. Then Ambedkar submitted a report in 1928 to the Simon Commission, and full report on education. You must read, if you are interested, the story of the education of the Dalit and OBC in volume 1 brought out by Maharashtra government and Dr. Ambedkar. And by 23, he gave the figures. There are no scheduled castes in primary, secondary, and higher education at all. When he gave a witness to the Simon Commission in 1929, he was asked that how many graduates are there from the scheduled caste in the Bombay Presidency, and he replied, I am the only one. So that was the situation up to 1923. Now, that is the situation of the education. I don't want to go into today's contemporary situation, but because I come back to the reason, that reason need to be understood. Then from the reason, the policy will be followed. Why discrimination still persists? So I made one point that under the code of Manusmriti, the untouchable were denied right to education, right up to 1854, and it took really a lot of time. In fact, I am tempted to share with you that when government school, the high caste Brahmin would not give admission to the scheduled caste, the British place, they would not antagonize the high caste. Therefore, they started a separate school for the Mahars in Maharashtra, and they asked Christian missionary to give admission to the scheduled caste student. Christian missionary were not given grant by the British because Hindu will feel that British is favoring the Christian. But then they say that, okay, we will give you a grant provided you admit scheduled caste. So this separate school for Mahar didn't work because there were no teacher. They tried Muslim teacher to teach the scheduled caste, but they were not qualified. That is the pathetic story of education till the middle of the 19th century. Now the reason is that there is a custom, norms and tradition that continue even today, despite the law against discrimination, in the mind of high caste student and the high caste people. Otherwise, why do they follow discrimination? A boy, high caste boy, who land up in a IIT Madras, Where does his caste consciousness come from? Why does he get disturbed because reservation is given to the scheduled caste? Why does he refuse to stay with them? Why does he refuse to make them a part of their peer group? Why do not they want to eat with the scheduled caste? Now you have to find out the reason behind. The reason behind is that traditionally under the caste system, which is also supported by Hindu religious philosophy, is that the untouchables are not supposed to have an education. Secondly, that they are untouchable, they don't have right, they are polluting, impure. That custom and that norm still prevail in the mind of the high caste student because they are socialized in the family and a society under those norms. There are no movement against the caste to educate the high caste student. Now, where does the high caste student in the IITs come with those notion of caste consciousness? In the family, he or she is taught. They read books, they read Rig Veda, they read Gita, they read Ramayana, they read Mahabharata, they read Upanishada, they read Puranas. And I will request you that you read article by Dr. Ambedkar in 4th volume, Riddle of Hinduism. There is one appendix at the end that has seen that how many religious texts of Hindu supported the caste system. There is not a single Hindu text which doesn't support caste system. On the contrary, support it very explicitly. All Rig Vedas, white Vedas, black Vedas, all Upanishads, Gita support caste system, Ramayana support caste system, Mahabharata supports caste system, all Puranas support caste system. Now, if all the religious texts which are taught in the family to the high caste, who read them or to preach them, there are thousands of preachers now, you see on the TV, they preach Ramayana, they preach Mahabharata, they preach Gita. Gita is now very high profile religious book. Have you ever heard that they have said that this is the religious teaching of Gita? Fine, we don't have objection because Constitution give you freedom to teach your religion. But have you ever said that we oppose caste system preached by Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Rig Veda? Not a single evidence you get it. So the student in the family, in the society, get the caste system as a justified system which give them the privileges. So there is no decasteization of the high caste students. A high caste student, because of socializing in the family and the society, and some of the right-wing group, land up in the same consciousness that the untouchable do not have right of education and they are given this reservation policy. Now, there is another point that you must remember is that even if they are told that the untouchable have education right, but traditionally speaking, there is a contempt for untouchable. That contempt is not as much for OBC or Vaishya, but the contempt for untouchable is intense. That you are inferior, that you are denied right to education, that your only job is to serve the high caste. How come you are encroaching in our area of higher education and posing a competition? So that humiliation comes in. Humiliation, casting a word which humiliate you, using the word which hurt you most. This all come from the status of the untouchable as an untouchable. Now the student learned in the family, they learn in the society. But one important point, most important point which you should remember as to why discrimination persists is this. Although there is an idea of notion of denial of right to untouchables and even Shudra, these are ideas, these are notions. They can be changed. You can educate them. But the reason is that the high caste do not accept it and entertain it. The reason behind this is that the caste system, and remember well and listen it carefully, the caste system gives the privileges to the high caste at the cost of the low untouchables. So the caste system is not follows for any spiritual benefit, high social status, yes. But basically at the core of it is economics. It is material benefit. That material benefit and property. And if there are theories of economics of discrimination in USA, we have not developed, but they have developed, Akerlof, Arrow and all that. But if you read the theory of William Dalit, who is a Marxist economist, he said that the discrimination fetch economic benefit. Of course, slavery. We're taking the example. Here it is clearly written that untouchable do not have education right and property right. But at the same time, overwhelming right are given to the high caste, particularly the Brahmin. The Brahmin's job is to teach and preach religion. But if you look at Manusmriti, every right is given to them. A Brahmin can be a teacher and preacher, can enter into military, can undertake cultivation, can start trade. Brahmin is considered to be the Bhudevas, God of God. All rights are there. Now the key thing that you have to study is this, remember is this, that having an exclusive right to the Brahmin is done nothing wrong. They have taken it over. But they can also say that untouchable can have also a right. We have more right, they have less right. No. The Brahmin will have a land, but untouchable will not have a land. Brahmin will have right to education, but untouchable will not have right to education. Brahmin can undertake a trade and agriculture, but untouchable will not have. So the Brahmins have right, or Kshatriyas have right at the cost and loss of the untouchable. So they enjoy economic privileges, they enjoy educational privileges at the cost of untouchable. Now, hence this notion still continue in the mind of the high caste. They read Manusmriti at the home, they read Ramayana at home. And so when they come to the educational campuses, they see how come untouchables is entering into educational sector. This is our privilege. They are not aware about the law. They don't entertain the law because they think that this is an encroachment on our right. Education is our right, and untouchable is encroaching on our right. They will get educated and they will be competing for employment. Because employment, because of education, was confined to Brahmin in ancient period, medieval period, and even British period. When the British bureaucracy came, who were there to enter into bureaucracy? It's the educated class which were the Brahmin. But now, this massification of education has given a space to the OBCs and to the scheduled caste. And there is a fear now that our space will be taken over by the high caste. It is this fear of loss of material benefit. It is this fear of loss of economic benefit is the reason why discrimination persists. That you must understand. Don't go by ideas. Ideas are important. But it's ultimately the discrimination is maintained. You are pushed not to have education because I will have education and I will benefit from employment. Therefore, in summary, the point is the discrimination persists in the sense of denying educational right. And you cannot stop education, but once you enter into education institution, we will take several measures of discrimination to condemn you, to humiliate you, so that you get drop out, you go away. So discrimination is practiced to preserve the economic privileges and social privileges of the high caste, which they have been enjoying for centuries together. That is the key and bottom point and crux of why discrimination persists. You know, because of discrimination, I get a high social status. That is also reason, but high social status can wither away very soon. Once the scheduled caste get a job, he is occupy high position, discrimination and social status goes away. Both became equal. Yeah, IAS officer from scheduled caste and IAS officer from high caste, not much of a difference. So status is one of the reasons, but main reason is the economic gain that brings the caste system, that brings that gain to high caste. And discrimination is an instrument. Remember well, I am telling you, read my article in EPW, May 2016, why there is opposition to reservation. The discrimination in terms of denial of right to education and harassing is an instrument used by the high caste to preserve their educational right, to preserve their economic right. I am not sharing with you because the lack of time, maybe some other time, how scheduled caste farmer face discrimination, how scheduled caste businessmen face discrimination, and of course how scheduled caste employees face discrimination. That is the reason. So you are against a tough position. When you are discriminated, the reason is this. Now, if this is the reason, it follows that those high caste who are legislature, who are minister, who are administrator, who are required to implement the reservation and other policy, they do not implement it sincerely. I think one of the issue identified by you people in a concept note is that the admission policy, recruitment policy of the faculty is not implemented properly. Now, if students suffer from discrimination and prejudice attitude, same is the story with those who are in the parliament, who are minister, who are administrator. Even if there is a reservation policy, they don't implement it sincerely. There is a huge backlog over a period of time. The note mention about the backlog. Again, why backlog? Because if you go position to the scheduled caste, we have no positions. Our positions are reduced. Why was a violent opposition to 27% reservation to OBC? Simple fact. The 27% posts which will come to us now are going to OBC. So Arjun Singh called me, Thora, this is genuine. Those who are high caste, qualified, more qualified than OBC, they will don't get admission. There is a point. Is there a solution? I say, yes, there is a solution. And he said, what? I say, increase 27 post in universities, faculty as well as the students. So there is no grudge. And that's what we did. That's what he issued the order. We give additional funding. And yet there was opposition by Equality Forum. Because why? Why OBC are given this? Why scheduled castes are given this? So ultimate is that our space is being encroached. Our traditional space is being encroached in terms of employment, in terms of land. So that is the key thing. And so administration will also benefit. And therefore you have rightly pointed out the solution. I'll come to solution that there has to be a representation for the scheduled caste. Let me take the last point, what is the alternative? What is the solution? That is your agenda. And I think it seems to me that there is a certain amount of lack of clarity, and therefore I would like to bring that clarity. And so if you can develop your policies if you want to. Now, there is no adequate protection against education discrimination. We have two acts, Protection of Civil Rights Act and Atrocity Act. There is no mention of education as a special category there. At one or two places, midday meal scheme discrimination, Anganwadi discrimination, but other than that, there is no mention because nobody thought that the education institutions which are supposed to be secular and open-minded, that discrimination will prevail. That was a mistake. Now the discrimination in higher education institution has come in a full blow, in its full form. Now, I suggest 5 solutions to you, again to cut short the time. First is that legal safeguard against discrimination in education institution. What are the present legal safeguard? One is the Atrocity Act. As I mentioned, that there is a little mention about the education. It cannot be used fully. But the most important act is, of course, the regulation brought out by UGC in 2012. I made a copy from the organizer. This is the regulation. Why I'm showing you, can you raise your hand? How many of you are aware about this regulation by UGC 2012? So, Ashini, this is the tragedy. 2012, I went to Delhi IIT and I met the director, acting director. He said, we have a SC cell. I said, don't tell me the SC cell. Have you implemented the promotion of equity in higher education institution regulation 2012? He said, I am not aware. Delhi University was not aware. I went to Jindal University. On the board, you will find a quotation against racial discrimination, a quotation against the physically handicapped. And I called the registrar. I had gone just for a seminar. I said, this regulation is there. You should have also put against the regulation against caste, religion. He said, I am not aware. No, that is the tragedy of this regulation. And this regulation is very important because I had been pursuing as a chairman of UGC to have a regulation for educational institution against discrimination. Nobody listened. When there were continuous suicide, after Vemula, JNU, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and Kapil Sibal took over as education minister. He called me. He said, "You have been arguing for regulation. Please prepare the regulation." He's a lawyer and he understands the use of regulation. This regulation were prepared by Indian Institute of Dalit Study and National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights, Paul Diwakar and company. And you will find that these are very good regulation, but neither student nor the institution knows about it. Some of them don't know, but they neglect it. Now, my suggestion is the following. You implement this regulation. What are these regulations? This should be your agenda. What are the regulations that it identify all the form of discrimination that a scheduled caste student can face? Because based on the All India Institute of Medical Science committee and other reading, we incorporated all the sphere here to consider this as a discrimination and a follow-up punishment. Now, this is harassing and victimizing the student, naming caste, labeling student as a reserve category, passing derogatory remark, allocating different time to student to meet the faculty, keeping any student idle in the laboratory, not giving enough time, separate seat in the student in the classroom. These are all, there are about 25 to 26 forms of discrimination faced by the untouchable student, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe student, which are considered discrimination subject to follow-up action. Now, I don't want to go into greater detail, but it provide the provision for the institutional setup. Even you are not doing that. In your note, I have seen that. This regulation suggests that every education institution set up equal opportunity cell, and that it should have an anti-discriminatory officer. We are totally confused between this provision and SC/ST cell. You must know that SC/ST cell in the university is only for reservation, identifying the roster seat, making the list of the seat under reservation, and advertising and filling it up. SC/ST cell, which is binding because of DOPT. It's a DOPT suggestion. This has nothing to do with the student. This has nothing to do with this discrimination. So there has been an utter confusion in IITs between the provision. Even IIT Mumbai has set up a SC/ST cell and increased the function of this. This is a mistake. According to those rules, what you should do is SC/ST cell will carry their function of recruitment of reservation policy. But for the student, but for the faculty discrimination, there is a provision in this regulation which are binding. It's a gazette. It's a Bharatiya Gazette. The provision of equal opportunity cell, whose function is manifold, and appointment of the anti-discriminatory officers. Any discrimination that happen in the areas that I have identified, the case should go to him. He or she will set up a committee and punishment follows. Equal opportunity cell has a responsibility, threefold responsibility. That is to stop discrimination and take other measure. Now, there are 2 points here I will mention because they are important for a policy, and I will discuss them later. One is it identify 3 points. It identify the sphere where discrimination can happen. Secondly, it consider those sphere to be discriminatory. Third, that the Equal Opportunity Office and Anti-Discriminatory Officer would entertain those applications, set up a committee, give punishment, whatever punishment as per the law, IPC or any other law. So this is very foolproof regulation which have been brought out by UGC, completely neglected by all central university as well as the IITs and IIM. Your first demand will be to ask IITs and other institutions, this untouchably different, should take this, that set up the office, organization, SC/ST cell will continue for reservation, but set up the equal opportunity cell for student and faculty and discrimination. Secondly, appoint the anti-discriminatory officer. Now, there is other function, there are 2 functions. Second function is to sensitize the high caste on the issue of caste and discrimination. That is also possible here, although you have mentioned in your note. Now, so let me summarize then. First point, the legal safeguard against discrimination should be in the form of implementation of the equity regulation in the institution. Number one. Second is, of course, this is a regulation. That is why this is not taken seriously by education institution. These are civil action, not the criminal action. When I was chairman of the UGC and we discussed about the ragging, which was Minans, what did we do? We convert the ragging into a criminal act, criminal offense, and set up the administrative procedure in the university. Do you see the ragging the way it was in 10 years before or 5 years before? Because ragging was converted into a criminal act. The student knows the moment he does something, his admission goes, his career is ruined. Now, in a similar fashion, this regulation should be converted into criminal act, like a ragging, and you will see discrimination will erode very fast. If not from the mind, but in the practice. So your second demand should be that convert this regulation into a criminal offense and subject to, can be IPC as well as the Atrocity Act. The second point that I will suggest measure is, of course, the representation in the various body of the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe at appropriate places. Therefore, you can check up if anything wrong going on. It has been UGC, as a UGC chairman, I issued out a letter that there should be representation for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe on executive and management, but it has not taken seriously. But I think your demand is right that on each body of the university and education institution, there has to be representation so that scheduled caste, scheduled tribe will intervene there itself and they will stop the wrong being done. The third is, of course, the sensitization of the SC/ST student, a high caste student who practice discrimination, who carry the notion of discrimination in their mind. This is very important. I must have written at least 3 articles on this. One in Hindu, when Vemula's case happened, discrimination in higher education campuses. Then the another article in Hindu, civic learning and democratic engagement. And third article very recently in Hindustan Time, where I say 4 measures to stop the discrimination. Government is completely blind. I don't want to bring government here. But the Central University Hyderabad student withdraw the agitation in case of Vemula on certain undertaking. That way there will be a Vemula Act or some act against discrimination, that there will be representation of the scheduled caste on various body, but most important is that there will be sensitization through a compulsory course in the university. The government has done none. I don't want to name. So the point is that how do you bring the sensitization of the high caste student, high caste teacher, high caste administrator who comes with those traditional idea and discriminate against the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe? I think there is a way out. The division and segregation that you have between those who are discriminated and those who discriminate, that has to be broken away. Now I'll just take 3-4 minutes and tell you that this problem also appeared in USA. In the early beginning, it was white male in the higher education institution, then white female, then black male, then black female, then Asian Indian, then Latino. And America discovered by 2000 that the higher education campuses has become diversified in terms of race and color and national origin, and the problem has started emerging. America took an immediate step. They asked the American Association of University and Colleges to set up a committee and study diversity and discrimination and exclusion and come with a solution. The committee submitted the report. They say that there is a need to remove the prejudices of the white against the black, against the Asian American, against the people from Puerto Rico, against Mexican student. There is an exclusion, there is an isolation that they discovered, and they suggested that there is a need to sensitize the whites and the others who practice discrimination, and they suggest a course. A course in sensitization to the student about what? Poverty, inequality, racism, discrimination, religious phobia. And that course has been framed by Michigan University, and that has been made sort of compulsory for all the students. It's not compulsory in all the university, but go to the website of Harvard, go to the website of Michigan, go to the website of all university in USA. You will see the course called Civic Learning and Democratic Engagement. So students do that course, undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD, and they get sensitized. They see that the concept of black discrimination is wrong. They see that the phobia against the Muslim is wrong. They see that there is a phobia against the Jew that is wrong. And they get sensitive.
Including casteism also.
Yeah, now caste has come, of course. I don't want to spend too much of time on that. On 28th, 21st, and 22nd, there is a conference in Brandeis University on law, caste, and social justice. And hats off to the Chief Justice of India. He is going to come there and inaugurate on caste and law. So because caste has become an issue. But let me come back to this point. So this course will sensitize the student. And then democratic engagement. What is democratic engagement? That the white student and other student are asked to go to the black localities and see their life. See how their rights are violated, how they are discriminated, how they remain in poverty, and how racism is responsible for that. So students get enlightened. Then they also brought a change in pedagogy. The student will understand that they asked those students doing course of different background to talk about themselves. The Muslim will talk about his Islam, the Hindu will talk about his religion, Christian will talk about Christianity, Judaism. They will share, and after all, then student will find that there is not much wrong, and they will learn to live with differences. Today there is a hatred across the religion. But they will learn to remain with differences because they will find out that yes, there are some things which are inconvenient, but most of the things are not such that they take your rights. Now, this learning plus engagement has made an impact in American campuses. 10 years after, in 2010, a review committee was set up. And they studied the impact of these courses on the student. They found there is a tremendous positive response on the white student who have done these courses. They are more enlightened. They are more secular. They are open. They are ready to accept differences. They also accept that, yes, we have done something wrong on the black. Now, I have been emphasizing this 100 times, but government doesn't respond at all. We had made a beginning in the JNU to start a course, but midway through I retired and this whole thing is gone. Now, therefore, your demand should be that for sensitization, you should have this course, sensitization, workshop and seminar. I think IIT has made a beginning. IIT Mumbai had beginning. There is one report here that is open sharing. There were Dalit students, there were non-Dalit students, and there was open sharing of discrimination. The high caste students were surprised that our colleagues are doing this. I think so long, you do not bring high caste and the scheduled caste and tribe together and discuss the issues of discrimination and inequality, the prejudice of high caste student will not be reduced and eroded. You have to bring, that is sensitization. Bring them together. There is no dialogue. There is a prejudice, but nobody challenge those prejudices. So I think the sensitization is very important and you should take that issue on your agenda. I think the last point I will suggest is the organizational structure. The organizational structure is like this. Please, I want to underline this because there is tremendous confusion. IIT Mumbai has also used the SCST itself even for the student and teacher. Same was the story with IIT Delhi when I went for a lecture there. SCST stale on the behalf of DOPT is confined only to reservation, recruitment. Don't touch it. There should be an officer there, representation there, but their job is this. But regulations say equal opportunity cell, an anti-discriminatory officer to deal with the issues of discrimination of the student and the faculty and non-teaching job, non-teaching from scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Nowhere it is set up. I had issued a letter long back when I was chairman. Set up equal opportunity office. I had given some money also. But now this was an informal decision, but now there is a regulation. So you should insist for setting up of implementation of these rules. These are very powerful rules. Although you should ask them to convert into a criminal act, and like Vemula Act, but also even if they are implemented in regulation form, it will be easy. So these are some of the five suggestions I have given. That is legal safeguard against discrimination, converting this regulation into act, then representation of the faculty and the student on various bodies, act, I have said, and then you have ACSC cell for reservation, but equal opportunity cell and anti-discriminatory officer to look into the issues of discrimination. There is a last point which I will stop, and that is, that also I have been emphasizing, and we have that from the very beginning, that is, that nevertheless, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe student comes with deficiencies in the institutions. Although the minimum limit is there, that those who meet those cut-off point in GEE or any other things, they come from rural area, they come from the families where there is no teaching background, there is no legacy of any parents, so they have deficiencies. So what should be done? That there should be remedial assistance program for the student, which you hear, IITs has some catching up courses. But there has to be a substantial program for those students who want to take it, not all of them, to improve English language and to give an additional knowledge in the core subject where they lack. Then you will find that the student who commits suicide will develop, student of that type will develop confidence if they are assisted by teacher, by student. The 30 to 35% of the student in IITs, IIT Mumbai mentioned the problem, mental health problem, partly because they are not able to catch up with the courses. Discrimination is one part, but they do come out with their poor background because of the family background. Now you should have a remedial assistance program. I think you should see that movie, reservation movie, Amitabh Bachchan and the other. I think they hit on this point. In the college itself, in that college itself, they have a separate building, a remedial assistance program. Now I started it. In JNU, when Y.K. Alak was the principal, he suggested me, what is your suggestion? I said, this is English improvement, and those who want to do some courses, this will not work because students develop complex. They don't identify that I am weak. Even in English language, I have seen that scheduled caste students won't come forward. So I say, I devise a scheme, what is called personalized remedial assistance to all scheduled caste and scheduled tribe students. What is personalized remedial system? It has shown a tremendous success in JNU. That in each department, there are several 60 departments, in each department there will be a coordinator. And the job of the coordinator in the very first semester, he identify who are the students lagging behind. Scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other, in courses, in terms of grade. The moment you identify in the very first semester that this student is lagging in this course, the coordinator will in the next semester or in that semester at the fag end, will approach the concerned teacher and tell that, give them special attention, love, care. And then senior PhD students were asked to help them. This is how personalized attention. All of them do not require attention. Only those who are weak, they require attention, and they should be given in a very silent manner. Tremendous positive response in my Center for the Study of Regional Development. But again, the ministry or education institution are interested in. So remedial assistance is one of the programs that you should ask for. You can prepare a document on this solution, and try and work hard, because otherwise you will be wasting your energies. There's a lot of waste of energies by raising slogan, by asking the demand which are not possible. But if you really ask those demand, these 5-6 demand that I have mentioned, and go to Delhi IIT or Madras IIT and tell them that these are the demand which are legally allowed, you should follow it. I think you will get a success and student will have some relief. Thank you very much.
I request Comrade Madhi Alagan, District Secretary of Central Chennai, Tamil Nadu Untouchability Eradication Front, to honor Dr. Sugadev Thorat with a shawl and as a token of love, they are presenting a book also. Friends, next introduction of concept paper from IIT Madras, the office bearer of Chindabar, Ashwin Dev is here. I request Ashwin Dev to introduce the concept paper. Dr. Chindabar, Dr. Sugadev Thorat, after going through the concept paper, he has suggested some corrections also. When we finalize the concept paper, definitely we will incorporate those changes. Now I request Ashwin Dev to present the paper.
Dear friends and comrades, before I begin presenting the concept paper, I would like to thank the TNUF and the Dalit Social Movements for organizing this convention, because earlier our efforts in this regard were very let's say isolated or not coordinated. So earlier our efforts in this were like not so coordinated, or so we were collecting some data through RTIs, Parliament, and then we were like writing some letters to committees. But now this is a platform. Like this convention is a platform to discuss and formulate our demands and how decide how to go forward with these issues, right? So already Professor Thorat has suggested some important demands that we should incorporate to our discussion. Yeah. Now coming to the paper. Yeah. So as you know, central education institutions are categorized as education institutions of higher learning that are set up, funded, or receive financial assistance from the central government. And these institutions include IITs, NITs, central universities, AIMS, ISER, etc. And these institutes are like some of the premier institutes in their respective domains. So these are like these are supposed to be the models for other institutions to follow. And there are disturbing reports that coming from these institutes regarding discrimination and repeated violation of reservation norms in admissions and faculty recruitment. So in the concept paper, we have focused on 4 important aspects of the issue. So first thing is the implementation of Central Education Institutions Reservations in Admissions Act and 2006 and the Reservations in Teachers Cadre Act 2019. And the other aspect is the functioning of SC/ST cell, in which Professor Thorat has suggested some important demands as well. Then the representation of oppressed communities in the other various committees of the institutes. The other thing is creating a congenial atmosphere within the campuses. So, yeah. Yeah, so coming to the reservations part. So historically, these institutions have seen drastic underrepresentation of students from SC/ST OBC communities, and it was only, and you may have heard the joke that IITs were called as Iyer Iyengar institutes jokingly. This was due to the drastic underrepresentation of backward communities in these institutes. And it was only in 2006 that the Central Education Institutes Reservations in Admissions Act was passed. It codified all the pre-existing reservations into a single act. It was legislated as part of the Common Minimum Program of the UPA first government. And even after that, we have seen some protests from the already existing students in these institutions, which are similar to the Mandal Commission protests which happened in the 90s. And it was after the intervention, after in 2008, when the Supreme Court upheld the act, that the reservations actually came into, started to get implemented. Yeah. Yeah, so since then we have seen improvement in the representation of students from CST OBC communities in the undergraduate and postgraduate courses, and it has democratized these campuses to an extent. But we still see a underrepresentation in PhDs and research programs like MS, because there is not a centralized admission process where you can admit through a test. There are interviews happening, so the biases are coming, or that not so transparent admission process are coming into play here. And the reservation teaching faculty post, that 2019 Act, CA Act 2019. Yeah. So according to this Act, as we know, there should be a reservation of 15% for SCs, 7.5% for STs, and 27% for OBCs. So prior to 2019, if we see the data, it was mostly filled by upper caste. Yeah. So if you see IITs, only 2.5% of the faculties prior to 2019 were SCs from the SC community, and a meager 0.3% were from the STs. If you see IIM also, we see a very even drastic underrepresentation of 1% and 0.2% of SCs and STs. Similarly, in central universities also, if we see the AISH survey data, only 10% SCs, 6.6% STs, and 15% OBCs were teachers in the central universities prior to 2019. Yes. So similarly, if you see the existing faculty from the reserved communities in these institutes, they are mostly in the entry level posts, assistant professor post. Like when you go up the hierarchy, associate professor or professor post, you see even lesser representation of SC/ST OBC communities in these posts. So the CA Act 2019 mandates in each cadre and each grade of pay, reservation has to be implemented in the mandated ratio. Yeah. So so now it has been like many years since the act has been passed, and let's say after 2000, like if you see the PhD admission, recent PhD admission, so the CA Act was passed in 2006, and now it's 2023. And if you see the last 5 years PhD admission data from 2017, 18 to 2021, 22, this was given as an answer in the Parliament by the Ministry of Education to a question raised by Dr. V. Shivadasan, MP of the Communist Party of India, Marxist. We attached it in the annexure, that data, you can see that. So only 9.3% of the 27,000 plus admissions in the in PhD admissions last 5 years in IITs were from SCs, and only 2.2% of the total PhD admissions were from ST community. Similarly, in IIM also we see similar underrepresentation. Only 6.6% SCs, 2% STs, and only 17.2% OBCs. So the unreserved category accounts for more than 70% of the admissions in each of in these institutes. So in CFTAs also we see a similar pattern. And over the years also we don't see this admission statistics getting improved. If you see the 2017-18 data, it is and compare it with the 2021 data also, it follows a same pattern. This indicates that these institutes are not taking up active measures to improve the representation. Yeah. In similar to PhD, we see this issue in MS programs as well, which is also a research program. Yeah, organizations like the Students Federation of India or Jindabar or Ambedkar organizations in these institutes, they have been bringing up this data, and political parties through their MPs have been bringing out this data and raising these issues in parliament. And it was in 2019 that after all these interventions, the Ministry of Education set up a committee committee chaired by IIT Delhi Director Dr. V. Ram Gopal Rao to investigate the reasons behind why reservations are not being implemented properly. So the committee came up with and to suggest reforms, right? So this committee came up with a very weird suggestion that you should do away with reservations in these institutes. The committee was originally supposed to, yeah. And then, so if you see the IIT Delhi director, so in social media, the IIT Delhi or even the director himself, they boast about how they are trying to improve the sex ratio in the campuses, how they are trying to bring new female students to the campuses, the steps, the initiatives they are taking. I mean, they are good, but the same enthusiasm we are not seeing in caste reservations. Yeah, so usually the reasons cited by the institutes for not following these reservations are like they are not getting enough applicants from the oppressed communities. But actually, we have data that shows this is not true. In 2021 February, the Hindu newspaper published a series of articles by Ponvasan, which indicates that even though there were applications, they rejected them. So the story title PhD entry in IIT is tougher for students from marginalized communities. This report came in the Hindu. So it shows that so they created a measure which selection ratio, like, so how many of the students who applied are actually getting an admission. So if you see that it is 4% for the unreserved community category. So which means like 4 of the 100 students applied are getting admissions. But if you see the numbers for SC, it's 2.2%. Similar number for ST and OBC, it's 2.7. So if you are giving affirmative action and helping students from oppressed communities, this number should be at least on par, or it should be higher than that number. So their argument that they are not getting enough applications are actually wrong. And this data was compiled through a series of series of RTIs given by student activists and the journalist himself. Yeah, recent data in Rajya Sabha given to the same question by Dr. V. Shivadasan also indicates that even though they have applicants, they were not selecting them. So we have attached the data in as the table 4 in annexure 1. We have attached this data for the PhD admission for last 5 years. Yeah, so this severe violation of reservation norms follows from the flawed process in PhD and MS admissions. The number of seats, like how many seats are there in each year, and their category-wise breakup, they are not provided. They are not being publicized or provided, and the admission process in itself is not transparent. Like they are not publicizing how many students applied or who all got called for interview. So these statistics they are not publishing. So unless we know this data, we can't. Now coming to the faculty reservation. So even after 3 years of enacting the teaching faculty reservation, many central education institutes, especially those focusing on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and management, are not implementing reservation in teaching posts. So it was after representation and protests from various student organizations, political parties, and members of parliament that the Ministry of Education asked the institutions under it to conduct a mission mode recruitment to fill up the backlog vacancies. So this mission mode recruitment was supposed to happen from September 5, 2021 to September 5, 2022. But this could not improve the situation in many institutions due to several problems that exist in the recruitment process. That will come to that. And data presented by Education Minister in response to question by Su Venkatesan MP from Madurai in the Lok Sabha says that out of the 45 central universities, 33 universities have identified a total of 1,097 vacancies in the SC/ST OBC communities, of which only 212 were filled during the this 1 year period of the mission mode recruitment. And even among these 33 universities which identified the backlog vacancies, 18 of them did not recruit any SC/ST OBC candidates during this period. Similarly, if you see the figures in IITs, it's like around 76 SC, 23 ST, and 138 OBC candidates were appointed in IITs as part of the mission mode recruitment. But IITs, so this exercise also consisted of identifying the backlog vacancies. So IITs only identified around 342 positions as backlog faculties. This is a gross underestimation of the data, because in February 2022, to a question in the parliament, the Ministry of Education had replied that of the around 10,000 plus faculty posts in IITs, around 4,300 plus posts are vacant. And at that time, the representation among the remaining 6,000 existing faculty was that SC/ST OBC communities combined only consisted 12% of the 600 faculties. So if you calculate the numbers, the entire 4,370 vacancies should be treated as the backlog vacancies for SC/ST OBC communities. However, they identified only 300 positions as backlog. So this data indicates the failure of the institutions to recruit adequate teaching faculty through the mission mode recruitment. And it also shows the lack of commitment from the ministry also to implement the their own institutions. After they even gave the direction, they are not being followed. So we have identified 4 important problems which are pertaining to faculty reservation. So one thing is preparing the reservation rosters, and it is a primary step that should be conducted. So this roster should also consist of the category-wise numbers in each cadre and its pay grades, because usually since 2019 these institutes have followed the reservations only in the assistant professor cadre, which is the entry level post. Similarly, fixing cadre strength is another important aspect. Since the office memorandums of the DOPT enjoin upon these institutions to specify the strength of their teachers. So see, some of the institutes like IITs, IIMs have a flexible cadre system, which is like they don't have a fixed number of assistant professors, associate professors. That number is varying. So they are citing this as the reason not to fix cadre strength. But this system in itself is a system just followed by the institutions and not a legislation. However, the CA Act is a legislation which should be implemented. Then proper advertisement should be done, because of the lack of number of posts which you are recruiting to, because of the lack of this data, the proper recruitment is not being done. Yeah, the Joint Secretary and Finance Advisor of the Department of Higher Education had written to the department in September 21 that this flexible cadre system, which I mentioned earlier, is only an internal feature of these institutions, and it was not brought through legislation or statutes under any legislation. So the norms laid out by the CA Act should be upholded, not the flexible cadre system which these institutes have created. Then another important issue that we noticed is the leaving a post unfilled after recruitment, saying none found suitable. So across the CEs, there is this tendency to select reserved categories candidates after conducting detailed recruitment process, such as shortlisting eligible candidates, interviewing, etc. So evidence of this situation was found in the aims by the Parliamentary Committee for the Welfare of SCs and STs. So when this problem occurs alongside the lack of proper rosters, the posts that should have been gone to the reserved communities were being gone to the general unreserved category. An example can be seen in IIT Jammu. So from 2019 to 2021, they brought down the vacancies from 64% to 10%. So during this period, the 65 faculty who were recruited, 66 faculty who were recruited, of which 55 were from the unreserved upper caste category. Yeah. Similarly, through RTI's file, through the RTI's file, we have identified from 2019 of the 1,500 faculties who are recruited, 1,200 plus belongs to the general category. So now we will come to the functioning of SC/ST cells in these campuses. So proper functioning of SC/ST cells is an important aspect in ensuring a safer space for students belonging to oppressed communities. So Professor Thorat has already explained the importance and some of the important demands that we should raise in this regard. So one thing is the SC/ST cell should monitor the proper implementation of reservation norms. Another thing he mentioned is the implementation of 2012 UGC regulations that penalizes students who commit discriminations in these campuses. Yeah. So regarding the SC/ST cell, in a reply to S. Venkatesan MP in March 2023, the minister gave that 21 CFTIs does not have SC/ST cells right now. Yeah, so we should take this up as an important agenda. And I'll come to the other aspect, representation of SC/STs in various committees. Currently, there are no guidelines which ensure representation of members from oppressed sections in various committees, such as the internal committees and the governing bodies of the institutes, like the Board of Governors or all other cells, including the wellness centers. So ensuring representation of members from oppressed sections would create a conducive atmosphere for the students and staff from oppressed sections to approach the respective committee body more freely. now creating a congenial atmosphere within the campuses. So we in the beginning we mentioned about the suicides of students from Dalit communities happened very recently. One happened in IIT Delhi the other day. So similarly in 2016 the institutional murder of Rohit Vemula, and in IIT Bombay one student committed suicide due to caste discrimination. So previous speakers have spoken about the data as well. The data we have attached it in the parliament as well. Attached the data from the parliament in the annexure as well. Yeah. So, and another important issue to be considered is the dropout of students from oppressed communities. So, an alarming data that came out recently was the 25,500 plus students from oppressed communities dropped out of the central education institutions. So, yeah, so I'll conclude here now with the note that till now our efforts have not been coordinated, and it has been isolated, and it was very limited to bringing up this data and pointing out these issues. There needs to be a collective intervention in this regard from all the concerned parties. So I think this convention and the discussion here will help in forming our demands and starting our collective effort in these issues. With that note, I place the discussion paper before the convention. Thank you.
Now house is open for interactions by students. So whoever wants to make their observations, they can come forward and speak here. I suggest, okay, whatever language you feel convenient, you can express your views. You can take 3 to 5 minutes because more students can elicit their views here. So in that way, I request students to come forward and express their views on the concept paper, and Dr. Thorat has made inaugural address. So you can ask any clarifications also on that. Please come forward. Live. Full live. First, IIT students, anybody from IIT? Yes. The IIT, you please wait.
Am I audible? Myself, Jurej, and I'm a fifth year student at IIT Madras. So recently in IIT Madras, we conducted a discussion regarding one of a article written by our alumni, and it's the deserving and the damned one. So in that article, there was a dialogue that says by IIT Madras director V. Indireshan in 1979 regarding the SC reservation. It is necessary to debate the fundamental question whether just a group of people, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe students, cannot cope up with a certain level of education. They should have a veto power to deny such an education to the rest, which is being followed by higher education institute, basically in IIT Madras. There was an interview by IIT Madras professors director recently in 2019 or something. when they got nerf first rank near public domain. I think an interview of one news channel, he mentioned out that we haven't found a suitable candidate for these reservation categories. For many of these problems, like reservation, after the selection procedure, there have been found that certain posts they are written three words NFS, not found suitable candidates. That's the one thing that's been given only for SC, ST, and OBC reserved seats. And also in these seats, currently the general students are also being taken in for PhDs and MS scholars. Recently, MS scholars, I think the number of reservation is pretty much less. I think for in IIT itself, like number of SCST students in MS scholars is pretty much less. I think around less than 50. That's a big number compared, less number compared to general reservation that's happening. So that's all. I think currently the majority of the institute they are trying to reduce the number of reserved students with reservation categories by saying that not suitable candidate. So thank you.
Central universities. தமிழ்லையும் பேசலாம். டிரான்ஸ்லேஷன் நம்ம அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணலாம். யாருனாலும் வாங்க.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you for such a wonderful session. My name is Mithilesh. I'm in IIT Madras Research Park. I'm from West Bengal, Darjeeling district. So I want to share what I noticed in IIT, though I'm not in the academic building, I'm in the research park, doing my entrepreneurial course there. So whenever I attend this events in IIT campus, so whether it is a fashion show, whether it is a DJ night or anything like that, so I see a lot of guys there. After the event, they'll be chanting or shouting or whatever Jai Shri Ram. I don't know how we are supposed to take that, right? So it made me think, why are there only guys and why there are no girls shouting Jai Sita Ma or something like that, right? Then I felt like, okay, this might be a very patriarchal kind of Jai Sita. Yeah, there are a bunch of guys who are shouting Jai Shri Ram after every event there. So it made me think like whether it is like a social discrimination where they are trying to show this space, like Dr. Thora that mentioned that there are like different kind of mechanism where they are discriminating. So in chanting Jai Shri Ram is also a form of showing your authoritative class and caste there. So it made me think. Then other thing is that what made me think is but they are not section of girls who are shouting Jai Sita Ma. Ram and Sita are supposed to be a wife or something like that, right? They're not shouting that. So it made me think it is like a very patriarchal kind of cry. It just made me wonder, right? Why is there nobody shouting Jai Sita Ma? Because I think Ram and Lakshman and Sita is supposed to be very, very equivalent, right? So this made me take it in this notion that I think they're trying, some section is trying to, show their presence there. So I didn't notice somebody shouting like Jai Bhim or something like that, So this is what I wanted to share. If these things also can be considered, in university campuses, like it's more of like, like a war cry. No, I'm feeling like it's like, okay, we are here and all. Don't mess around with us. We are in majority. We might screw you up anytime. Kind of notion. That is what I felt, And I think one suggestion is if you're shouting Jai Shri Ram, I want to suggest ladies also, whoever organization, whatever ideology they belong to, I think you should include ladies also and tell them to chant this name, Jai Sita Ma. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, sorry?
There are many different words.
Yeah.
So you are at IIT Madras.
I'm in the research park, yes.
Good morning, friends and comrades. I am Rahul Raj from IIT Madras. First of all, thank you, TNUF, for conducting such a very wonderful event. And there were a lot of points discussed, a lot of data that was discussed, especially in the paper. And interestingly, there was a lot of interesting suggestions from Dr. Thorat as well. What I found interesting is what he talked about the 27% reservation for OBC category and how the general category students perceives it as encroachment of their right. This took me back to one discussion we had, like 1 hours long discussion that we had on EWS reservation, where interestingly, the same people who say that the caste-based reservation is encroaching into their rights, they are very happy with the EWS reservation. So I think we think that it's mostly it's not about eligibility or the merit that they are mostly concerned about. It's about their personal spaces being taken up by people from other communities. Typical examples you can see even in IIT Bombay recently, one issue came up where there were separate sitting places for people from vegetarian and non-vegetarian category, which is not there are similar instances maybe in other IITs as well. In IIT Madras also we can see instances where at least in labs where people are asked, please don't eat non-veg in this lab. These are small scale instances are there. Especially, I think a cultural unity should be, or cultural expression is being limited by the upper class in institutes such as IITs. So, sensitization is very important in this aspect. I think through sensitizing these people, through creating communities where people interact with one another, people understand each other's objectives, we can create a better community, hoping for a better future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Akash, a research scholar from Anna University. So my doubt, my query is that so in universities, in order to supplement professors, assistant professors, they have a temporary teaching position, so teaching fellow. So what I found to RTI is there is no reservations being followed in a temporary positions in across all universities, and also many temporary positions like junior research fellow, senior research fellow, and also many temporary positions they are not following. It's not a fair and transparent recruitment is being done. So I feel that only a person very known to it, limited circle are getting that opportunities. So in name of temporary position, certain communities are excluded. So in RTA from one particular department, there is no even single representation of a project position from SCST category in state university itself. And also there is not even a single vice chancellor in Tamil Nadu universities, not from SCST category. So it has been more than 75 years of independence. There is not even a single vice chancellor from Tamil Nadu state universities. So what is the solution to such avoiding that temporary position? So equal and fair representation is my query, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, comrades. I am Divagaran Tian. I am from Pondicherry University. I belong to SFI Pondicherry University. And first thing, like according to 2012 higher education regulation, there should be an equal opportunity cell. So our question is how to like pressurize the university to materialize this equal opportunity cell, like as a practical. And second thing, there are discriminations like which are subtle, and our suggestion is to like we should tackle these things through movements. And third thing, in many universities, particularly in our universities also, like there are lot of appointments which recruits RSS and followers of RSS, which are mostly from the upper caste backgrounds. So we have to collect a proper data of how faculties and staffs are appointed in these universities. And we are using this to mention like there is no proper mention of reservation in the NEP, and they are using the NEP to saffronization of the universities. And also we need to include this how we need to get a proper data of how EWS is how EWS used in universities, how the people are using this EWS to tackle the reservation.
Hi, I'm Manimadan from IIT Madras. So I just need to add a point about how PhD admissions is happening.
I can't hear you.
So I'm Manimadan from IIT Madras. IIT Madras. So I just had a doubt about how PhD admissions and reservations are just following up. So generally, the process is we apply our proposals, and there are professors in different streams who actually work in different domains. So the question is like when there are some 25 seats for this cycle, some 100 and 150 students are first shortlisted. But at the end, when the final interview happens, the more interest is more given about the domain which a person is actually trying to apply than the category that the person actually falls into. So at the end, it's most like filling up the reservation, but it's actually like placing them in certain spaces so that the reservation is seen as it is filled. For example, a person from an SC/ST background, if he secures the highest marks, he's not put in the general category, but he's actually put up in the SC/ST category, so that 50% is 50 or 40% which is actually secured, mean to be secured is well secured. Even EWS, everything comes in, the 40 to 50% is fully safeguarded, even though reservation is followed, as they say. So I just was thinking about how this is filling up and how the process is going through it. So we can actually look into that also, like in future, how it goes on, how the reservations actually filled up in PhD admissions, which I have seen so far. Thank you.
So I am Akshat from Pondicherry University. So in Pondicherry University. So in our university till last year, SC/ST students and girls were exempted from paying hostel fees. But this year, without any prior notice, university declared that they have to pay 1,000 rupees as hostel fees. There were no
1,000 rupees a month or a year? Or?
a year for the academic year. So even the information brochure, it was specified that SC/ST students would be exempted from paying the hostel fees. And another issue is regarding physically disabled students. For them, until last year, they had to pay only about 3,500 rupees as caution deposit. They were exempted from paying hostel fees and mess fees. But this year again, without any prior notice, university declared that they have to pay the 15,000 rupees as mess fees, along with the hostel fees, which would be around 1,000 rupees. So, for a student who paid 3,500 rupees last year, if he took admission this year, he would have had to pay around 17,000 extra. So, and this came after the MHRD insisted the university to cut funding for extra expenses. So, and the university also reduced the bus services. So that also came without any prior information. So is there any way we can take legal action against this?
Hello everyone. I would like to talk about the social discrimination historical perspective. So historical perspective starts from their scriptures like Manu Smriti, Gita, Ramayana. So in that they put a system called Varna system. So in the Varna system they themselves made a educated person. So from that mentality they are driving this system till now. Like, and they want other like untouchables and Sudras peoples want to be chanting their things, their reading their scriptures. Even the like I'm a complete atheist person. So when the ISRO chief says that our scriptures has a knowledge about this thing, so I could imagine that idea. Even the scientists are made up to believe in this nonsense stories regarding anything like flying into this thing and this thing. So we have to be that much scientifically like powerful to eliminate this thing from the India. So as the Bhimrao Ambedkar said regarding the India history as it is a land of Buddha, so who was also atheist. So we have to be towards that mindset. So if we reach ourselves into that mindset, these stories and make up stories and believing us to make them like superior, so that also a part to be eliminated. If that elimination has arrived in the mindset of the people, then the issues that they are creating to make them a hierarchically superior in the system, whatever they're occupying the system, they want to be a superior to that. Even they are not allowing other caste into the business, in the education system, in the like it start with the coaching system. So in the coaching systems itself, like it is embedded that the people from the upper caste are in majority who has in the coaching system, and they have